Yes, hello. Welcome to yet another edition of our story. This is Africa. This is TV Africa. This is our story TV. And we're talking about our stories, our own stories. I'm privileged to be having you once again who are watching and viewing, of course, from wherever you are. My name is Maponga'S Karema. And tonight, I am humbled and privileged to host one of the most prominent people on this planet Earth. I have a brother, a teacher, a father, a philosopher, a bishop. You know, you call him whatever you want. Bishop Joshua Maponga. You're most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Uganda is always good for me. I'm quite happy. I come for some few business meetings, so you're lucky to have caught me while I'm doing my other things. Yeah.
When you say Africa, what is Africanism?
Africanism is self-determination. Africanism is people free to be themselves. You see, it's only us who are still struggling to define ourselves. You will never hear people asking, what does it mean to be a Chinese? What does it mean to be a European? What does it mean to be an American? But for some reason, the African must define themselves. Why must we define ourselves? Because we've been contaminated.
Why?
We've been invaded. We've been colonized. Our identity has been altered. We are now coconuts. We're brown outside, but our software is white software. Weddings are white. Our education is white.
White, yeah.
Our food is white. Our clothes are white. Our parliaments are white. So at the end of the day, when you're asking what is an African, it's a very good question. Because you're actually admitting that if you find someone black like you, I cannot assume that you're an African. Though you look like an African. Because you don't spend your money like an African. You don't work like an African. You don't build your house like an African. You will not be buried most likely like an African. So what is African about you? When everything that makes you an African is not in practice. So when I mention a word such as self-determination, it is the liberty, the freedom, which is one of the first principles of the United Nations on human rights. That humanity must respect other people who are as human as they are. So that when you find a Hottentot, you find a Khoisan, a Bushman, you find a Muganda, you find a Banyoro person, you find a Maasai person. Why do you think, as an outsider, that they need help? They need to be assisted. They're not dressed properly. But they've been around for thousands, if not millions of years. So will you allow a Maasai to be a Maasai? And when he walks up to parliament looking like a Maasai, when he walks up and to you as a government, for example, and he says, my wife is going to deliver at the village. My boy is going to go for the rites of passage. Is he allowed to do that? Or you're going to put a fence around his homestead, which used to be his homestead.
Like what's happening right now?
And then you call it a game reserve. No, you can no longer come here. But our animals move, and we go with our animals. Grass disappears, and we move to the other side to feed our cattle. So by restricting and coming up with policies that restrict human movement and human liberty, we are restricting sovereignty. And that's what the Berlin Conference did in terms of building these small little countries that are restrictive to the movement of indigenous people.
You talked about liberation. Then I also remember now 61 years down the road, 1963, when OAU was actually formed, you know, in Addis Ababa. On the 25th of May, we're actually clocking 61 years, you know, of what we call liberation. Are we liberated as Africans?
Liberation is a beautiful word you're using. You can look at it in two ways. There's liberation, which is an ideology. There's liberation, which is a reality. So talking about freedom for Africa, which we might want to term as political freedom, does not come with economic freedom, cultural freedom, spiritual freedom. You're only told now you're free. And your president must walk to the same parliament that was colonizing you.
Yes.
You will sit on the same chair that was colonizing you. You have the same courts that were busy colonizing you. Same hospital system that was colonizing you. The educational system that was colonizing you. And then you tell me that you are free. But now what you have are black people that are coming from the liberation, walking into power and maintaining the colonial system. Now, if you understand that, that's neo-colonialism, where now Africans are managing each other on behalf of the white men they've chased away.
Wow.
So the laws are still the same. We've just changed the leader. The car is still the same.
Yes.
The direction is still the same. We just changed the driver. So until we begin to develop a new set of leaders who will get to the driver's seat and ask the people in the bus, how are you good people? Are we going in the direction you want to go? Have we not left anything behind? Because the guy who was driving here was not interested in where we are going. We were in a hurry when we left our culture there. Is there anything which we might have left behind? Let's turn the bus around.
Go pick it up.
Let's go pick it up, because we are going to need it in the future. When you look at countries such as China and the United Emirates, Europe in all its totality, Netherlands, Belgium, Britain. We saw a few months ago when the Queen passed away, and the culture of the British.
The way she was actually buried.
The goats are all of a sudden in the palace.
Yes.
You know, the stones are being moved from Scotland. And this is a ritual that they're doing. And when an African does his rituals, he's demonic. But when the British are doing it,
what's the problem?
So when we're in a hurry for what I might want to call development, industrialization, democratization, the question is, are we in such a hurry that we have left our grandparents, left our diet, left our food, left our indigenous clothes?
Yes. The back road.
Are we in such a hurry to put on plastic clothes, forgot our birth methods, birth control issues, beads on around our... Are we in such a hurry? We've forgotten to build roundabouts instead of square rooms that have paint and asthma on. Are we in such a hurry that we've forgotten to plant food in our yards, and bananas and okras and plantain because we want pizza? Now, what will happen when one generation wakes up to discover that pizza is not healthy, Coca-Cola is not healthy, Pepsi is not healthy, this is not healthy, and then what we used to call primitive, it's organic.
It's organic, yes.
It is healthy. So we need new leaders.
Which type of leaders are you talking about?
You are the leader.
Oh.
We need new leaders.
This is what they've been talking to us, talking to us about from primary, from nursery, primary, secondary, university. They're telling us, you know what? Young people, you're the leaders of tomorrow.
So tomorrow is today.
Tomorrow is today.
Tomorrow is today. So they were right. They were right. They were saying you're the leaders of tomorrow.
And it's what we are.
So when is the tomorrow they're talking about? Here you are right now on a national TV, transforming millions of lives.
Yes.
Are you not a leader?
Yes, I am.
So the question is, what kind of leaders do we have? Do we have leaders who want to continue with the bus? Or do we have leaders who will risk popularity with the international community and go back and find themselves and bring Uganda nation, bring African nation, leaving no one behind?
So you mean out of the 54 states in Africa, nothing, like no country is liberated?
I would be wrong to say they are not liberated, but to say they are fully liberated, I would say all of them, none of them.
None of them
is fully liberated.
61 years down the road.
Why? Because they discussed the what to do. They forgot the how to do. So the Africa Union was discussing what Africa must do. What Africa must do.
Yes.
But the how part, it's one African president. How are we going to achieve that? one army. How are we going to achieve that? One passport. How are we going to achieve that? One currency. How are we going to achieve that? One university. Maybe one language in terms of our conversation, so that everyone, we can destroy the Francophone, the Anglo-Saxon, the German thing. So the real issue is the mechanics. So our forefathers, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Kamuzu Banda, and then Robert Mugabe, and the rest of them, Lumumba, and His Highness Haile Selassie. Beautiful meeting that they had. What we must do for Africa.
Wow. Recently, we've had coups in West Africa. Then the recent one happened in just our neighbor here, DRC, where they survived. Almost. Almost. You know, what's wrong with Africa? What's wrong with Africans?
It's not what's wrong with Africans. Because when you take that angle of what's wrong with Africans, then you blind sight yourself to the interests of other parties. So there are many factors that affect Africa. Very first factor could be civil, in terms of misunderstanding within the community, the disparity between the youth and the young people and old people as to how a country must be run. And secondly, it's opposition party politics.
Opposition party politics.
Yes, where those that are in the country are not interested in building the nation, they're interested in opposing the present government.
Just opposing.
And they forget that when they become the ruling party, they will also have opposing parties to the opposing parties. So the politics just becomes opposition party politics.
It's what we call democracy.
It's not democracy.
It's what we call it.
The most successful countries in the world are not even democratic. But that's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
Party politics becomes an exciting thing, because now under democracy, anyone can raise money, start a party, and you're going to oppose everybody. But before you oppose the government, you must go home and start an opposition party in your father's house. Then you will know that you understand the dynamics of opposition politics. Number three, then you have multinational companies that have interests in the activities that are happening in that country. And when they don't get their contracts right, when they don't get their deals right, instead of fixing whatever problem that they have, they would rather remove the person who refused to give them the deal and then sponsor someone else who will go there, and then the person can afford them and give them back. So when you look at
it's a promise.
When you look at the person that is going into power, you always want to know who is sponsoring him, because the person who is sponsoring him has an interest. That's what we call the interest of the multinational. And ultimately, it is actually the colonialists who don't want to let go their hands of the benefits that they were getting for free. You look at Niger, where they were buying uranium for peanuts.
Yes.
No, I can't remember. They were saying it's $200 or something like that, and they were selling it almost like thousands of dollars later.
Yeah.
And then when you stop France from accessing that which they were getting for free, it's almost like we're dogs. These European dogs, I call them, that have been eating in Africa for free, eating our chickens for free, eating our cattle for free, taking our minerals for free. And then you get up in the morning and say, now you need to pay for what you've been eating for free. But if we really press you, even what you ate
thousands of years ago,
you must pay it back, because you're stealing anyhow. But anyway, that's a story for reparation for another day. But when you tell a dog that has been eating eggs for free, that it must start paying for the eggs it has been eating, surely you're going to start a war. So when you look at a coup in Africa, you need to consider the local politics, national politics, consider the party politics, consider the multinational relationships and business deals that are in the pipeline. Ultimately, you need to consider also the interest of the colonial states that still want to have access to those resources.
You know, when we talk about the colonialists, then we can bring about, for example, still the opposition in the politics. Then we look at, for example, how strong is the opposition in Africa?
We don't need opposition parties.
Why?
We need alternative parties.
Alternative parties?
Because the country is more important than the party.
What do you mean?
The country will be here after the party is closed. The people will be here.
Yes.
So if you are in opposition, you're opposing what? Opposing the country.
You're opposing the president and the ruling party.
What are you opposing exactly?
Whatever bad they are doing.
So it's ideology. So what you do, you take someone that has an alternative view to come into parliament. Then we talk as alternative parties, not opposition parties. If you say it's an opposition party, it means that when I build a road, you must oppose me. When I build a hospital, you must oppose me. When I buy, like what you have seen in our country, in Zimbabwe, the president builds the hospital. No, but we don't have roads.
Yes.
Then the president builds the road. No, but the airport is not good. Then you build the airport. You oppose basically. Opposition politics simply means now we've started the Zig dollar. No, it won't work. No. Then what works? What ideas do you have? Bring alternative solutions. Rather than just making noise for the sake of making noise. To be known that you're in opposition, what are you opposing? So take it from me. You cannot oppose a country. No, opposition politics does not work. Alternative politics. Then what you do, unite with the powers that are in place. If you are a child in your father's house and you have a brilliant idea of how the family can develop, do you start a party or you sit with the man?
You sit with him.
What do you lose? Why can't you carry the same Africanism, the same Ubuntu? If you have brilliant ideas as a young boy of how the country must run, what do you lose?
What do you lose? Sitting down with an old man. Now we have a saying, for example, in Africa, in Uganda to be specific, you know, that let the old people stay aside. Let the new blood, the new generation take up, you know, because they've been in power for so many years.
You gave me a title which will make you uncomfortable. You called me a philosopher.
Yeah.
So he is a philosopher. I grew up in the farms, herding cattle and plowing. There are two types of oxen that you have. You have the young oxen that is full of energy, full of power, full of ideas. And then you have an old ox that is less energy, but full of discipline. When you yoke the young ones by themselves, you spend the whole day running, drawing nothing. When you take the old cows by themselves, you will work very little. When you combine the young one and the old one, you will plant the field.
Sure.
The discipline of the old one will keep it in line. The energy of the young will pull the lines. So we need a combination of discipline and energy.
I'm looking at one of the strongest, one of the opposition leaders in Uganda, Honorable Bachiagwa Instentem Bobby Wine, sitting together with the president Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
Can you go wrong?
Like on a chair like this one.
Can you go wrong? Make him the vice president.
Huh?
Make him the vice president.
Who?
The young boy.
You want Museveni to make Chiagwa the first president?
Not Museveni. You said in a democratic country. Yes. So when you go for voting and etc., and you go, the problem with the young people also, they want all or nothing at all. I must be the president, or else I'm not interested. We have the same thing in Zimbabwe. He has good votes.
Yes.
His MPs are in parliament, but he refuses to come to parliament.
Yes,
because if I am not the president, then I'm not interested. Then what do you do? For the past 10, 15 years, you lose traction, knowledge, contracts, function of how the government works. And you think one day you'll come up from the bush, wherever you are, and run a government which you don't even have an idea of how a government. Can you even write a memo? Can you welcome an ambassador? Do you know, you saw what Tsvangirai did the other day, the other president, when he went to Germany. There he was saluting to the wall, turning to the wrong side, and etc. The culture must be taught. So when a young man is serious about transforming Uganda, don't transform Uganda from opposition. Transform it from alternative. Go inside the parliament. I challenge Elder Museveni. Take the young man, bring him closer to you. Give him the Ministry of Youth. Give him the Ministry of Commerce. Give him the Ministry of Agriculture or Industry. Let him test the skills and work and develop and learn. Because you're going to need these very some people in the future. Now combine the energy of the young, the wisdom of the old. You have a recipe of success.
We are seeing the return of the loot. In West Africa, German brought some of the loot. England is doing the same. Berlin is also doing the same. You know, Are we beginning to wake up as Africans?
It's not even waking up, man. These are gifts. They bring no transformation. Except maybe put a museum and people go there and see the things. The symbols which they represent. In Zimbabwe, they took 18 of our kings and beheaded them. Their heads are in Britain as I'm talking to you right now. And Britain is refusing to bring them back. All we want is to bury our kings in a respectable way. But here, their heads are being used for rituals there in Britain and stuff like that. So it's not just about bringing back. It's admitting that you're a thief.
Admitting?
Yes.
Why should I admit?
I mean, I'm sitting with you here and you miss your phone. And then I come back a few days later and I do a big ceremony to come and hand over your phone. And you are so happy that you received your phone. No. I'm taking you to the police station. Yeah. I have found a thief who stole my phone. And the business that I lost while this phone was away, maybe you must compensate me for it. So we cannot be happy that they're bringing back trophies. We want to know the reparative measures that are in place in terms of the theft. And admission to that theft means they must pay for the crimes that they've committed.
Your word to the African leaders who are about to converge, who are about to celebrate Liberation Day, in just a minute or two. 1
minute only. They don't need to go to China. They don't need to go to Europe. They don't need to go to America, the United Nations, and go there and take stupid pictures in front of white people. They must meet on the Liberation Day. All African leaders close themselves on one place and answer the how part of the Africa Union formulation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.